Hi, this is Sue Greenwald with Awakened Stories. I'm here today with Deanna Carr with The Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Dee, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So today's topic is dragons. Now, we have talked about various, we'll call them mystical creatures and various topics.
Mhm.
And we're going to probably refresh and update those videos, is my guess. But we haven't really officially talked at length about dragons that I remember. So,
No, we have not.
all right.
Well, not on video.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked about everything. We've had so much fun in our travels. Like Dee was always with me on many of my spiritual retreats that I led, and we had incredible experiences and conversations and things. So it's so fun, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is.
All right. So the first question about dragons is, are dragons real?
Yeah. You think, yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're spending the time. All right. So like in our minds, okay, as a regular human, the dragons, if they were real, were killed off like hundreds of years ago and they don't exist anymore. So are they in our district of Earth now? And again, we've talked before about what Smarty has talked about. The Earth is much bigger than we know. It's like an eight ball from a pool game, and we're in the
Mhm.
little circle with eight with a little energetic dome over it. So that's our
Yeah.
district. Are there dragons in our district now?
There's versions of dragons, but there is no dragons as in the mythical ones that we think of.
Uh-huh.
So they died off, and there's been versions of them that have, been created. So there are different sections of them. But if you're looking at the dragons that, you hear of in the folklore and all that,
Right.
they are real, but they are living in different areas.
Okay.
So you obviously wouldn't go outside and see one.
Yeah.
There are dragons in different, if you want to call it realities or different realms.
Mhm.
So there could be a dragon in your space, you just won't see it on this plane.
Okay. Now we have seen video recently in the past few months of dragons flying through China. In fact,
Hmm.
there was a dragon that shot fire out at like some building or whatever, and then there were some baby dragons. So we've seen several dragon videos. And we've also seen a dead dragon on the beach somewhere, and they found more and more, like they're coming out now. So that leads me to believe that they're either like we'll call it sneaking back into our district, coming
Hmm.
back in through inner earth, like whatever they're doing, they're coming back.
So what's going on right now is that the realities, realms, whatever you choose to call it, are basically smushing together. And those videos where you see like the dragons flying, shooting fire, that kind of thing, they are here on this plane at that moment. So we can see them coming through, but they go back to their own reality. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it's
It's kind
very,
of like a time warp.
yeah. So let's then ask the question, are there, we're going to call them physical dragons, okay, physical. Are they in the other districts outside of ours, living like out in the
Yeah.
open?
There are other ones outside our district, and there are some in the center Earth.
Okay.
So when we started to kill off the dragons, I mean, obviously they didn't want to die, and they already had access to caves that go into the deep depths. So they were easily able to access these caves to go into the inner earth to
Okay.
find and hide. And then if you know anything about dragons, it takes them a long time to birth and that kind of thing. So a lot of them would go into these deeper caves while, chaos was happening outside. Some stayed there because they felt more content than coming back out. So they were able to reproduce down in inner earth.
Oh, okay. So that's why they might pop up through, a way, a crevasse or a
Mhm.
tunnel or something. They come up and then they might go back to where they are more comfy. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What are the origins of dragons? Like, are they extraterrestrial? Have they always been on Earth? Like, are they created beings? Like,
There are some that are created. Um, they like to experiment on everything. But for, the beginning dragons, they were extraterrestrial. So they were able to transform and transport themselves to, planet Earth. And they became comfy. They obviously liked their jewels, their gems, stuff that they found on this planet. So that's why they decided to stay. Over time, and humans came along and all that, we started killing them off because of our fear. They also had different powers and links that humans wanted, so there's multiple reasons we killed them off and kind of scared them away.
Mhm.
But the originals were not from this planet.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, so you and I had watched a show, let's just say 20 years ago. And it basically said that the dragons were eating platinum. Like they ate the minerals out of the earth. And that's how
Yeah.
they lived. And I think it was like, I want to say it was like Romania or somewhere. They were living up in the mountains and the people came and got them, and there's bones up there and blah, blah, blah. Um, so you mentioned that they like gems and jewels. Like, can you tell me why?
So some of it is for, just internal minerals. So obviously they don't eat what we eat. And some of the nutrients that they get to strengthen themselves is through gems and the minerals throughout the earth itself. Other reasons, they do have this energy for finding something that they enjoy and they like, and they kind of crave it. That's why there's a lot of misconception thinking that they would go and take all the armor and stuff from these soldiers because they had this deep desire. And they did have this desire, just people didn't realize they were actually stealing from the dragon. So it's kind of like a double-ended sword. Does that
All
make
right.
sense?
Say that again. So the dragons would steal the armor from the soldiers way back when because of the
So
metal.
yeah, so they would go, so the soldiers would go and rob them of their gems and jewels because it was hidden. I
Okay.
mean, that's what's been
Okay.
told.
Yeah.
Um, and then what would happen is the dragons do need some of it for different reasons, but it's also theirs. It's their property, it's their entitlement. So when somebody goes and steals it, they need it back. So what would happen is they became into this like little war between whose is what.
Ah,
And it was stolen from the dragon, just people said, oh, they're coming to kill us. And that's where that fear was instilled. But
ah.
in reality, they took those fine metals and minerals that the dragon needed and transformed it into armor
Wow, that
because
makes
they
sense.
couldn't harvest it themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at nowadays, they can't harvest most things. They need thousands and thousands of people to be able to harvest stuff. So think about it, back then, they had the dragons do it.
Oh, what?
Yeah. They needed the minerals, the materials. Dragons were capable. They had the willpower. They were already going to do it as is. So why not just steal it? And then you can kill them off and take everything.
Wow. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. I didn't expect that answer. So let me then let's ask this. Are dragons good or bad?
It's like everything. I mean, it depends on your perspective.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, it's just like everybody. There are some there are that are good, there's some that are bad.
yeah,
For the most part, they don't want to be bad. They are protective, they are territorial.
yeah.
They do have, animal instincts, but for the most part, they want to be good. They just like their space.
Okay.
So once people started invading and hurting and doing all the nasty things they did, they became more aggressive and nasty because they felt that was the only way they could protect themselves.
Right.
And
Okay.
then obviously it went down a horrible road.
Yeah.
So they don't want to be bad. They didn't want to be bad. They wanted to be good. Just what other choice did they see? And they do
Right.
have animal instincts.
Okay. All right. So a whole bunch of questions. Are they, well, we'll call it intelligent. Do they have a way of communicating among themselves?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, most creatures on this planet as is can already communicate telepathically. We are the only ones that can't. there are some people that already have the ability, or maybe don't know that they have it. They just haven't accessed it yet.
Right.
But all creatures already have the ability to communicate transparently. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Okay. And
Telepathically.
so they can telepathically communicate.
Mhm.
And did they live in communities or were they mostly solo or small families, like that kind of
They
stuff?
would they would live in small communities.
Yeah.
And for the I mean, it's just like people, sometimes you feel overwhelmed and you want your own space. So there were a few that would live off by themselves just because they felt overwhelmed with the dragons around them.
Right.
But they also noticed when they lived by themselves, they also had more issues during specific time periods.
Okay. Okay. Now, could all dragons fly?
For the most part, yeah, some of them had, different abilities. Most of them could fly. There wasn't really too many that couldn't. They mostly chose that they didn't want to fly. But they had, like I said, different abilities. Some had powers that they could swim better than they could fly. So you have the water dragons. Um, some seem like they could crawl better, so they chose not to fly. So they just, walk on land, pretty big creatures. So it looked pretty interesting.
Well, that was my next question. Are they like, are there different sizes or were they all giant or, like big or?
There, yeah, there are different species. There's different sizes, just like anything else. For the most part, though, they're obviously bigger than us. They're the smallest would be like a small truck, and that was probably a premature dragon. They get pretty big.
Okay.
I mean, some could be sizes of like not a huge building, but like multiple buildings put together, like
Wow.
houses.
Okay. Okay.
So they get pretty large. It depends on what like species of
Okay.
dragon it is.
All right. Did all dragons breathe fire?
No,
Okay. Just,
so a lot of them did.
yeah.
It's about the species of dragon. Like I said before, some of them have different types of powers, so they didn't all breathe fire. That was kind of like a special ability.
Okay. What other abilities might they have had?
The big one, there was one species that a lot of people feared the most, and that was the one that could turn invisible. Um, they were able to blend in, and they could literally like become see-through. So that was one of the ones that they tried to kill off first because, if you have a huge dragon that just disappears, you're kind of freaking out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they would go for the more powerful dragons first, because they instilled more fear.
Wow. Okay. Did the dragons like eat people? Like were they, obviously there was some fighting going on when their stuff got stolen, but did they prefer to eat people? Like is that what they were trying to do?
No, they don't like people. They have a weird diet. The thing about the eating people, I mean, if you hear this big reptilian creature that can fly is about to eat you, you'd be freaking out, right?
Yeah.
So telling people they're going to eat them was a way to instill fear and to be okay with them going, taking their supplies, killing them off. So by instilling fear in the people were okay with horrible acts of injustice. Um, so they didn't want to eat people. They didn't choose to eat people. Maybe one or two enjoyed it because they were getting to that weird stage of like
Anger.
losing their minds and anger and all
Yeah.
the negativity. But for the most part, they like their minerals.
Okay. In many of the books and stories, some dragons work with people and they were called dragon riders. And is that
Mhm.
a thing? Is that a true
Yeah.
story? Okay.
Yes. There were people that worked with dragons. They were not afraid of them. They were able to have a relationship. They were able to get on their backs, ride them. They weren't pets. They were companions. So there was a relationship. It wasn't one used the other. It wasn't one got, you're going to do this for me. It was a relationship between both of them. That's why they're considered dragon riders, not dragon owners.
Okay. What other abilities might dragons have had? So some could breathe fire, some could fly, although some could swim. Um,
Mhm.
some could turn
They
invisible.
Yeah, they had invisibility.
Yeah.
Um, each one had its own unique ability. I mean, you can go into anything. Some were able to actually communicate with humans. That's where dragon riders come in. They had that special bond, so they were able to also telepathically communicate to humans,
Mhm.
if they chose to. Some were able to, I'm gonna pull up a list. Okay, so one breed was able to use types of mind control. They were able to, they didn't use it for bad. They were able to like give out instructions and to help to get help if they needed. So mind control sounds horrible. I don't know what else you want to call it though, but they were able to get help when needed in that sense. Um, Invisibility, sparks. One was able to create clouds around them, and then transform the sparks into different essences. So it could go from turning the sparks into fire, it could turn it into gas, it could turn it into potions. They were able to use this gas in different ways. So those are the big ones. Most of the other abilities are kind of common.
Wow. I never heard that before. Yeah. So,
So I mean, there's just so many different species of dragons. I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
think we know about 10 of them. And we don't really talk about any abilities. Now, most of it is based off of species. Like I said, some were better at climbing rocks, swimming, flying. Those are mostly based off of, what species are they? And
Okay.
then the powers, most of them had some sort of power, but
Yeah.
everybody was different, just like humans. You know, some have the gift of sight, uh, touch, healing, so on and so forth. So each dragon had that type of thing.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Very interesting. So the ones that worked with humans, like for the most part, the humans were good and had good intentions, we like to think, and they
Yeah,
would work with the dragon. Like, were there also bad dragon riders, I guess we'd say?
but yeah.
Of course.
I mean, of course,
Yeah.
like there were some dragon riders that they started off with the intention of being good. Then they realized how much power they had. Because when you're riding a dragon, you are not only yourself, you are connected with this being. So I'm sure everybody saw the movie Aragon. Remember how he was able to see through the dragon's perspective?
Yeah,
I know nobody liked the movie, but you're able to develop this connection with your dragon. So you feel this influx of power. So ones that were not able to understand that they could be used for good started to create this chaotic mindset of, I have this power. What else can I do? Oh, I could take over. I could do this. And it was always negative. So you do have these negative dragon riders that were consumed by this understanding of power throughout the dragon.
right, right. Okay. That makes sense, you know,
Mhm.
and that happens in just about everything humans do, right? Pretty much.
Yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay. Now, are dragons in any way related to dinosaurs?
No.
Okay. All right.
So I mean, a lot of people think that they're connected because they're reptilian, but they do come from two different planets.
Okay. So one of the things I was wondering about is, are we digging up dragon bones and thinking they're dinosaur bones because they're always finding new species, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah, the dragon bones are dragon bones.
All right.
For the most part, they're not related. Dragons came at a different time frame. And for the most part, they do have that normal dragon look where they use their wings as arms. So if it's not a dinosaur with winged arms, it's probably not a dragon.
Okay. All right. So, in the movies, dragons are usually portrayed as evil and dark. Like, think of the Hobbit movie with Smaug.
Mhm.
He's in this giant thing and he's hoarding the gold and he's going to kill everyone and, burn everyone. He's got a lot of anger, obviously, but that's how we tend to think about dragons.
Yeah.
And
And like I said, that's at the point where they've been driven to this kind of madness.
yeah,
They've been pushed into the corner, and what else are they gonna do?
yeah,
They're unhappy, their space has been taken, their jewels, their minerals have been taken, people are coming in and killing them or hurting them and harming them, and they don't know why.
right,
Well, I mean, they figured it out, but like for the most part, like why are they coming in and doing this to me?
right.
So they get pushed into these negative, horrendous mindsets. And then we say, oh, well, look at what they did. Well, no wonder. I mean, what did you think was going to happen when you heard it?
Yeah, yeah,
So that is one thing that, people have really harmed them in that
yeah.
sense.
Okay. Yeah, and like I saw a video of a lion or something in a zoo, and there was a child standing up next to the glass, and the lion attacked the glass. And everyone's like, see, this is why you have to keep them, behind the bars and all that. And I'm like, well, listen, the lion is being tortured. It's living in a small space. It's not
Mhm.
free. It's not in its natural habitat. And it's got a lot of stress because of all these people poking at it all day. So no wonder they go crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not fair to the being.
right.
And then we get, the torture, we get whatever we want from it,
Yeah,
and we misuse it.
yeah. And we do that with pretty much everything. So,
Yeah.
any other little tidbits you want to tell us about dragons that you can think of right now?
Oh, one thing is, like I said before, like dragons are kind of within this realm, just not in the realm. We can access their abilities if we were chosen for it. It's just like when I talked about with the dragon riders, how they have had access to, you know, take in the ability to use their powers. We can gain access, but you have to work with dragons. So it is a special ability, and you can definitely start to use that. You just have to know how and how to access it.
Right,
So I've used it in multiple healings. It's very powerful, more powerful than fairy healing. But like I said, you have to know how to access and use it properly.
right. Well, I thought we might
Mm.
tell two stories, maybe more, if that's okay.
Of
And
course.
we can start with my dragon egg, and I'll tell the story, but you interrupt me. So
Okay.
I'm not like you can't really see the details of this egg, but there's a notch, there's like a thumb hole or whatever here. But here's the story. So I led a retreat to Sedona, Arizona, well, let's say 10 years ago, because I don't really have the date. And we were at Slide Rock Park, and it was a cold day, but we had our bathing suits on underneath our
Hmm.
clothes because it was chilly. And so we did our meditations and whatever we did. And then I was walking with Deanna, looking around at everything. It's a very, cool place. And she starts swearing and she takes off her clothes and she's in her bathing suit. I'm like, what are you doing? And she dives in the water, under the water. It's cold. And she comes up with this and hands it to me. And it had a little seaweed on it. And I'm like, thanks. Like, what is it? And, like, thanks for the rock. So so she hands me this and I'm like still like, what are you doing? Right. So she goes, you're supposed to work with this. It told me, to come get it for you. So I'm like, great. So I still didn't get the big picture. So I used to meditate with this rock. Well, this is a dragon egg. Okay.
Hmm.
And I work with this particular dragon previously in a
Yes.
previous incarnation. And she said, get, work with the dragon, get the color, get this, get that. So I kind of did. But do you want to tell us anything else further about this dragon egg while I have it here?
Well, yeah, so it was a crazy go get me now, finds me,
Yeah.
kind of like a calling out, but I knew it wasn't for me. Um, but the thing about it, like, yes, it is a rock. It is a rock. I know that because I know some people are going to say something about it being rock, but the energy within it is the dragon. So she is able to call out the dragon energy to work with it.
Yeah.
So it's not physically an egg that you're going to be able to crack open and see a dragon in. It's the energy induced into it. So she's able to bring out that energy and call upon it when needed. There are dragon eggs around the world. Um, they just aren't as active as they might be in the center of their world, in the center of the world. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak today.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so there are many of them, but that one, like I said, is specifically for you. You've worked with it before.
Yeah.
And if you bring it into your meditations, into your healings, you're able to power through the dragon, and everything is going to be enhanced. It's more than tenfold.
What's more than tenfold?
The energy. So when you do like healings with
Yeah.
dragon energy,
Yeah.
it's more than 10
Yeah.
times the energy you're inducing.
Yeah.
So using energy from a dragon for healing purposes is quite beneficial to the one receiving the energy.
Right. And that's what I actually used to do when I had my studio and I did healings, energy healings. I would let
Mhm.
the person hold this along with other crystals, of course. But when I meditate, I usually have this in one hand when I think of it,
Yeah.
And like I've hooked them up with pithalum right now.
Mhm.
Now, is there anything else you want to tell me about this dragon egg or the dragon?
What kind of questions do you have?
Well, I think I worked with it in a previous life. I think I was a dragon rider, and I was told by another friend years ago that we wiped the dragon and I helped to wipe out the people on Earth. And at the time, I'm like, what? That's horrible. And then I talked to maybe you and maybe other people, but what happened is the dark, I think extraterrestrials were on Earth, and we like ran them off. I could, and that's
Yeah. Yeah,
how,
because you didn't kill people per se. You
yeah,
killed a different species.
yeah,
So they look like people, but they were not
yeah.
humans.
They were
Um,
evil, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they needed to be gone. And that's where, like I said before, like we had good dragon riders. So you could access the dragon's power so you could be able to see true intentions. So you could see who that person is, what they were doing, what they were meant to be doing,
okay,
and then, where did they come from? So there's a lot more you were able to access while with the dragon on that physical plane.
okay. All right, good, thank you. So, is there anything else we should talk about this particular dragon?
This specific one, yeah, there's something coming up. Um, hmm, it you already work with it. Oh, okay. So you're going to be meeting a companion soon for this dragon.
Oh, for the
Um,
dragon, dang.
here's the thing. So our spirits obviously have gone through many life cycles. So if you're a dragon rider once, you might be one again. So you may have a second dragon on the way. I see coming within a year. You're
Oh,
going to meet it probably in the Florida Springs. I'm not saying Destin. I see it being one of the springs.
cool.
So it's going to be a companion that you have met previously. So like I said, if you're a dragon rider, you've had more experiences with more than just one dragon. So if you have the ability to access one dragon and you're able to not manipulate, but handle the energy and use it in a powerful but positive way, you are granted more of those dragons. So there are people that have actually collected rocks that are actually dragon eggs. They just don't know how to access them, so they're just collected as rocks.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. See how I get that free information, guys? All right. So if there's anything else we need to know about that dragon egg, please let us know. But I wanted to tell the story about your dragon egg. And
Yes.
of course, it's not handy, is it?
No, it's not.
All right. So do you want to tell the story? Do you want, oh, I'll tell my part and then you tell.
You tell
So
your part. You like fun stories.
okay. So yet again in Sedona, a separate trip, separate people. We were doing a retreat here. Again, let's just say 10 years, because whatever. But they went to a store called Crystal Magic. So my friends took Deanna shopping. It was her 21st birthday. I was doing something else. I don't remember. And they all came to me afterwards and said, Deanna wanted this crystal so bad. And, it was pretty pricey. And I'm like, I don't want to buy one more thing, blah, blah, blah. But I thought, well, I'll sneak back and buy this crystal. So it's literally the size and shape of a chicken egg, but it's a chrysocolla, which is a beautiful, like a green blue. It's usually like a green with veins of blue running through it. Beautiful stone. So I looked at the one in the front of the aisle or the thing, and I ended up buying that particular one. Gave it to her for her birthday. And you want to take the story from there, Dee?
So it was a dragon egg. Surprise. Um, but no, she handed it to me and she's like, it surprised me because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't
Yeah,
planning on getting it. Like
yeah.
it was a pricey, stone. So she gives it to me for my birthday and I start going off about it. And she's like, wait, a dragon egg? What? So I'm trying to explain to her that the dragon egg's talking to me in a different tongue. And I have to figure out how to communicate with it now. So like we said before, some dragons originated from a different planet. So this one originated from a different planet, but I had to understand how to access the language. Once we were able to start communicating, that's when I was starting to involve dragon healing into my fairy healings by communicating with this
Right.
dragon.
Yeah. I remember when you took it, you stood there for quite a while and I was like, what's happening? And you were getting like kind of a download. And you
Mhm.
said it was quite powerful. It took quite a while. And you said I don't understand it and I can't translate it yet. But then
Mhm.
when you would do healings, you would have the dragon egg with you and readings as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, as long as we're talking about, so is there anything else we need to know about that dragon egg or the dragon that you're working with?
Um, no, that was really I guess like an eye opener because like I said before, we have this idea of how dragons are, there are these nasty creatures that just want to kill and plunder and all that stuff. But being able to access that dragon and have that communication and relationship really enhanced my own abilities with healing
Yeah.
because I was able to have that relationship and really harness in with their abilities.
Awesome. Okay. Uh, a quick third story, also in Sedona, which of course is mind blowing. Well, actually, I have another question too. We were down by Red Rock Crossing, the park, which is one of our favorite places down by Buddha Beach. And we were just playing around with rocks. And Deanna's husband picked up a stone that was about this big. It was like maybe an ostrich egg size. He goes, this looks
Yeah.
like a dragon egg, right? And we both looked at each other and nodded. That was a dragon egg as well, right?
Yeah, it was a huge dragon egg.
Yeah.
It was huge. But yeah,
And
he found one there too.
yeah, in Sedona, which is like so bizarre. Now, do you still have that? No, come on.
Listen, do you know how many times we've moved since then? How
No.
many things get, I mean, we it probably is here somewhere,
Yeah, yeah.
but the amount of times we've moved, things get missing. And I know people are like, oh my gosh, how could you lose a dragon egg? It's okay. We still have the energy.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can still access it. Just because it's not on the physical plane doesn't mean we don't have access
yeah.
to access it.
Okay.
Um, but it was a massive egg. It was pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
I don't know where it was put. I don't know where it was placed, and that's okay. And I know people are gonna be freaking out, but like I said, I can still access the energy, and so can he.
Yeah.
I just tend to work with dragons more than others.
Okay. So that dragon was that like that was his dragon in a prior lifetime as well.
Yes.
He was a dragon rider, I assume, as well.
So it's just like everything else. You kind of, come together. You've had these past lives, past existence together. So it is one of those things where it was his dragon. Um, but like I said, once you understand how dragons work, you can actually access their other people's dragons as long as you are good. If you're accessing it for positive healing,
Pure intent.
any anything pure, you're able to access.
Right.
So even your dragon, that's why I was able to communicate with it because I had pure intentions.
Right.
So you can work with my dragon. All you have to do is call upon it. You don't have to physically have the egg. You can still have that spiritual connection, just like there isn't a dragon in the egg, but you have that spiritual connection to it.
Okay.
So, even if you decide, hey, I'm going to go on vacation, I'm going to leave my dragon egg at home, you can still get access to the dragon egg, even if it's not in your possession.
All right. Good answer. Good answer. So I guess that wraps up most of my questions. I went hiking last fall with a friend Blake here in Sedona, and we were at West Creek,
Yeah.
and what I'm blanking right now. We were at the end, and we found a dragon egg in the water as well.
Hmm.
So he took that home. So that was exciting. And of course, the whole way I was telling stories about all my experiences. But isn't it interesting how many eggs we found in Sedona?
Yeah, well, it's easy access and they come out at the right time. So there is something about, finding them there.
Yeah,
Um, And I think one thing is you're in a different mindset. You're in a different state than if you're at home and you're, all hectic.
yeah,
And most of the time we don't really take the time to go to the river and, look.
yeah.
So I think that's one reason a lot of people find these eggs in the rivers in Sedona.
Right, right. Well, like if you live in a different state, you're going to work and you're not outside hiking
Mhm.
and looking at stuff and enjoying it. And of course, here there's a like you're able to talk about things a little bit more openly than other places, you know.
Yeah.
So it's fun. Any other things that you want to tell us about dragons or the three eggs that we discussed or anything like that?
I mean, nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah,
So I guess if anybody has questions or if there's things I didn't answer, just put them in the comments. And then if I have more information or if I think of something after this, which is probably going to happen, we'll make another video
super
and give
cool.
out more information.
Super cool. I thank you so much for your time. So for those that don't know, Dee's channel is called the mystical_moonlight on YouTube. She does do personal readings or private readings, and she'll be doing more videos in her free time. And then we'll do these little type of interviews. So if you have ideas, suggestions, or questions, let me know and we'll try to whip up a video, okay? Yeah. Thank you so much, Dee. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, hon.
Bye.